Okay, let's get going. Okay, thank you so much for joining me today on a session which we've called the Evolutionary Upgrade, why this stage of life is the gateway to power, purpose, and longevity. Now, that sounds like a very grandiose title. I understand, especially in today's environment where this kind of midlife phase, this kind of menopause phase is potentially seen as one of decline, one of something that we're not necessarily going to enjoy, something that we're not going to celebrate. And I'm here to try and change in a short period of time that narrative and perhaps your understanding of what is possible during this time. So, if you don't know me, a tiny little bit about me. I am a mum of four. Yes, only three children in that photo, but there was a surprise COVID baby in 2021. And I'm a health and wellness specialist. I'm an executive coach, a wellness coach, nutritionist, and a personal trainer with a background in psychology. And I specialize in working with women through the main transitions in their lives, one of which is obviously menopause. Now, I've spent over a decade coaching women through this midlife phase, through leadership, through burnout, and rebuilding their strength one layer at a time. And I have watched incredible women fall apart quietly, not because they have lacked ambition, not because they've lacked discipline or grit, but because they were using systems and ideas which were designed for bodies not cycling through hormonal turbulence, not going through what our bodies are going through. And that is why today, and these sessions that I run exist, because recovery in perimenopause isn't optional, it's a performance lever. And when women learn about their hormones, when they learn about what their body is actually going through and how they can properly and adequately support it, they actually become their healthiest and happiest selves. So, what are we going to cover today? Obviously, this is very, very surface level. And I'm going to go quite quickly through it because I know you're probably in your lunch hour and you've got lots that you need to be doing. But today we're going to look at why midlife isn't a crisis and why it's actually an exciting upgrade. We're going to look at how midlife has been framed as a decline, how it's all about maintenance or survival, but it doesn't need to be. We're going to look at very quickly what's actually happening biologically, neurologically, and emotionally. We're going to look at why midlife leadership needs to look different. And we're going to identify one area, just one area that maybe needs redesign. So, very quickly, let's get into a question. When you think about midlife, what resonates for you most right now? And these are just a couple of ideas. Is it a sense of loss or confusion? Is it some kind of quiet dissatisfaction? Is it terror? Are you worried? Is it a feeling that something's maybe changing, but you can't quite name it? Is it a sense of clarity, like I'm done with the bullshit? What is resonating for you right now? Feel free to add that into the chat or just note it down. When you think about midlife, what's that overriding feeling that you are getting right now? Feel free to share, but you don't have to. Just thinking about putting your mind where you're at right now. We have something in the chat. Dorcas, do you want to read out what we've got in the chat?
Freedom.
Freedom. Oh my, I love that. Yes, freedom. And whoever wrote freedom, sorry, why can't I see the chat? Whoever wrote freedom, I would love you to talk a little bit around that. Why did you say that? That's such a positive phrase, a positive word to use. I'm so used to less positive things. So I would love for you to just have a couple of seconds as to why you chose freedom. Can you share that with us? Olga. Oh, okay. We've also got Manjula, liberation, given kids, flown nest, and sorted, i.e., having their adult lives. Great. Very similar to Olga. Time for social mission. Lovely. So you've got a little bit more time for yourself, a little bit more time to do the things that you want to do. I love that. Okay, well, two really positive sentiments. So excellent work. Okay, so let's start now with the old narrative and why it's not working, but it feels like some of you maybe feel that the old narrative isn't working for you anyway. So, for decades, midlife has been framed as some kind of decline, some kind of maintenance mode. It's hormonal chaos. It's maybe slowing down. And this narrative teaches women to shrink their ambition. It teaches women to override their instinct. It teaches women to push through their exhaustion and their feelings of overwhelm. It it teaches you to confuse resilience with self-sacrifice. But biologically and neurologically, that framing is completely wrong. And I want you to think about how it's not actually decline, it's a recalibration. It's not a loss of fertility, a loss of youth, a loss of sexuality or sensuality. It's actually a discernment that it's not a weakness now you're in this phase of your life. It's an efficiency. And we're going to talk about all of these a little bit later. But what was one message that you were given earlier in your life and maybe that you absorbed as you were growing up? What was a message that you received about midlife? I know for me, it was very much that I'm at the end of my life. When I reach menopause, that's kind of me done. I'm going to retire when I get to menopause. That was definitely the feeling that I had, certainly before I knew that many women, even not surgically enhanced menopause, many women actually start experiencing perimenopause in their 30s. This was before I understood all of that, but it was definitely for me seen as kind of like this is just before you die, you go through menopause. What did you absorb when you were younger about this midlife phase? What did you absorb? Could have been anything. Could have been something really positive. And I know we've got lots of different cultural nuances around what's understood about menopause. You had no clue about what to expect. I think that's really common. I think certainly, um, quite a few years ago, it wasn't really discussed. I know my mother never discussed it with me, never mentioned it. I was away at university. She went through menopause. I came back and she was done. No one really spoke about it. And therefore, we didn't really know what to expect. Anybody else? What message might you have absorbed about midlife growing up? And therefore, how does it impact or how did it impact you as you were transitioning? Did it make it more scary? Did it make it more exciting? Did it make it more, how did it feel for you? Those messages that you absorbed growing up. Earlier hysterectomy, okay. Was a premature sign of hope. This is fantastic, Manjula. I'm loving this. So positive. Sign of hope. Yeah, I love that. And I think different societies certainly approach this phase of life very, very differently. And I know in some Asian cultures, it's actually seen as, spring awakening is how menopause is translated. Whereas for us, it's menopause. Something's pausing, something's stopping. This is not necessarily good. Whereas a spring awakening, that is exciting. Spring, new beginnings, not needing to take the pill any longer, no more periods. Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it. Absolutely. Okay, so let's look at how this could be an evolutionary upgrade. So we must realize that midlife changes are not random, they're adaptive. Now, biologically, your energy becomes more precious. And this is where your body is demanding better returns on its investment. Neurologically, pattern recognition actually sharpens, and this translates to us having less tolerance for nonsense. And then emotionally, with the decline in estrogen, our people-pleasing tendencies tend to drop, and therefore the truth and authenticity become more non-negotiable. So, this is actually a time where instinct meets intelligence, experience gains authority. Your power becomes quieter, but actually it becomes stronger. Now, what's the problem here? Well, the problem and the disconnect happens because most women try and run their midlife with a pre-midlife operating system. So, what I mean is that they go through and into this stage of life using systems, ideas, understandings that they had earlier on in their life. And unfortunately, it doesn't work quite that way anymore. Our hormones affect every single receptor in the body, and therefore we need to adapt with that rather than fighting against it. So, where is the biggest mismatch that you're finding now between your pre-perimenopause and menopausal life right now? Is it in your energy? Is it in your focus? Is it in your ability to set boundaries? Is it in your self-identity? Is it in your purpose? Where are you experiencing the greatest mismatch? Anyone willing to share? A very, very common one is energy. And energy is that I used to have energy and I'm doing the same things, but I just don't have the same energy I used to. It gets to 8 o'clock at night and I am wiped out. I can no longer function as a human being. I'm on the sofa. I can't do anything else. And that's a really, really common one. Whereas before, it seemed like our energy was endless. We get to midlife, that's no longer the case. It may be identity. People associate very much with the idea of being a young, fertile, woman. And actually, they get to this stage and they're like, okay, what's my purpose now? Where am I now? What am I supposed to be doing now? And there's that mismatch in their identity. There are lots of really, really interesting ones that if you actually take a step back and look and ask yourself, it's not something that we really do. As women, generally, we're very, very practical. We try and push through, we try and get on with what we're doing. We've had normalized pain throughout our lives. And actually taking a step back and going, actually, what's not working for me right now? Where do I need to reassess? Where do I need to redirect my energies? Where are things no longer working? It can actually be a really, really important thing to do in order to move through this phase of life with greater energy, with greater purpose, with greater understanding of yourself and what is now possible. So I do encourage you, whether you do it with us or whether you do it on your own, to actually have a look at where that mismatch might exist. So now we're going to go into a little exercise to help you kind of clarify this a little bit more. If you can grab yourselves a pen and paper, that would be really great. And I want you to ask yourselves these questions. What are you still pushing through out of a habit? What are you still working through, even though maybe you don't want to, just out of habit because you've always done it? Second question is, what used to work but now costs you more than it gives? And a classic one here is exercise. A classic one is that women go to the gym and they do the same kinds of workouts that they used to do, which would give them the endorphin high and the body maybe that they wanted and the ability to eat any food they wanted. Suddenly they get to midlife and that system no longer works. And actually, it causes more draining. So, exercise is a really classic one. Where are you spending energy out of obligation rather than intention? Where are you spending your energy because you feel you have to, not because actually it works for you? So just take a couple of minutes and ask yourselves, just jot something down. Those three really important questions, questions you've probably never gifted yourself the time to ask. I really encourage you to just spend a couple of minutes now. Give that to yourself, a couple of minutes just to stop and ask yourself those questions. Because burnout, these feelings, they're not failure, they're data, and they're data which you can use in order to create a present and a future that really works for you and that really helps you to become your very best self. So, just a couple of minutes here. Majula says energy and focus. Yeah, that's really, really common. Just one more minute, jotting down anything and everything. No one is going to see this apart from you. Okay. This is just your opportunity to brainstorm, to get it out on paper, to just have a look at your current reality right now. There's a reason that you're here right now. You're searching for something, you're looking for something different. What might that be? What needs to change? What is this phase of your life asking for? What do you need to gift yourself? And this is going to be different for everybody. There's no right or wrong answer. We're all different. We all have different lives. We all have different goals. We all have different ideals. But it's important to know what yours is. Okay, well done. So, midlife leadership isn't about being louder, it's about being clearer and cleaner. And the women who really thrive here do a few things. They choose sustainability over self-sacrifice. And we all know a lot about self-sacrifice, particularly when we're in our midlife. We know what that is, but they choose sustainability. They redesign their ambition instead of completely abandoning it. It's not about suddenly shrinking and losing all ambition. It's redesigning that ambition. And it's about protecting recovery as a strategic asset. And I encourage you, we did a session a few weeks ago on rest as a weapon. And it was a whole session about how important, particularly at this phase of life, resting is for your central nervous system recovery in particular. It's about building legacies instead of burning out for short-term wins. Burnout at this phase of life is such a common problem, but it doesn't work. No one wins when you're burning out, particularly not you. So, this stage asks different questions of you. It's not about how much can I handle, how much can I take on, how much can I do. It's about looking at what really deserves your energy, because your energy is finite, particularly at this phase of life. So, we're going to go into our second and final exercise. You're probably very delighted to hear. And it's called One Strategic Redesign. So, what does leading differently mean to you now? And it's a shift here from endurance, what can I endure, to authorship. What can I create that works for me? And I'd like you to complete this sentence, okay, on your pad and pen, get that out again. If midlife is an upgrade, one thing I must redesign, not push through, is blank. That's what you fill in, whatever that blank is for you. So if midlife is an upgrade, one thing I must redesign, not push through, is what is it for you? So what needs redesigning most urgently in your life? Is it your workload? Is it your expectations, your own expectations, your boss's expectations, your family's expectations? Is it your health? Is it actually that needs to become a priority now? Is it your relationship with your children, your partner, your parents? Do you need to redesign what your relationships look like? Is it your identity? Is it how you see yourself? Is it your role in life or within your organization? What needs redesigning for you most urgently? No right or wrong answers, but there is a right or wrong answer for you. And it might be that you have lots of things that actually you need to redesign or want to redesign. But what is that one thing? Because that's really what we're looking at today. One thing that's going to be manageable, something that you're going to be able to focus on rather than feel well, I need to redesign my whole life, which is probably what most of us need to do. That's overwhelming. Okay. Take it one step at a time. What is one thing that you can start looking at and redesigning right now, which is going to make a big difference to your life? Because what we want to do here is we want to anchor the insight into an action. We know this now. I've given you a little bit about the biology, a little very top line oversight about what's going on. Take that information and turn it into something practical that you can start doing today in order to make a big difference in your life. Would anybody, no pressure, if you don't want to, just stay silent. Obviously, that is absolutely fine. Would anybody be willing to share one thing that they feel that they need to redesign at this stage in their life? Anybody willing to share? Okay, I take that as a no, you're not willing to share. That's fine. Okay, Manjula, thank you. My work hours to capitalize when I'm at my most energetic. Absolutely. There are going to be times in your day where you are feeling powerful and on point. So capitalizing when that is, because there are also going to be times when your energy is going to flag, where your focus is going to flag, where you're going to experience more things like brain fog potentially, or distractions. So actually working out when your peak hours are and then capitalizing on them. That's absolutely brilliant. I love that. Well done. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the takeaways. I want you to absorb the idea that midlife is not about decline, it's about recalibration. What feels like a disruption to your life is actually your system upgrading. Energy, focus, and tolerance are becoming more precise, not weaker. Burnout is not a personal failure, it's purely information. If something feels harder than it used to, it's not because you're broken, it's not because you're weaker. It's because the old way of operating no longer fits with where you're at in life. Because this stage demands strategy, not stamina. Midlife isn't about pushing harder and doing more. It's about designing how power and recovery and ambition work together for the long term. Clarity increases for a reason. Sharper discernment, lower tolerance for nonsense, and stronger instincts are evolutionary features. They're not flaws to ignore and suppress. Sustainability is the new metric of success. Longevity, impact, and leadership in midlife come from protecting that energy, comes from setting boundaries and choosing what really matters. You don't fade in midlife, you lead and live differently. Because this is the gateway to purpose driven authority, deeper influence, and legacy building. If you stop trying to survive it and start designing it. One redesign matters more than 10 intentions because real change starts by identifying the one thing that needs upgrading, not enduring, and acting on it with clarity. So, midlife isn't asking you to disappear, it's asking you to operate at a higher level of authenticity. This is the gateway to power with discernment, purpose without depletion, and longevity by design, not luck. If it feels like something is changing, it's because it absolutely is. So, next steps. If you would like a completely free 30-minute brain fog clarity session, which is basically a 30-minute call for me, we ask lots of questions and we identify your personal brain fog triggers. And then we build a ritual that you can use tomorrow, this week, to start creating some control and some change within your life. If that sounds like something you would be interested in, then just let me know, reply to my emails, and we can organize a time that works for you. All right. That is the end of the session. I think I managed it in pretty much 30 minutes. So hopefully you've got a little bit of time now to go and gift yourself some quiet time, some self-care, whatever you need to do for you. But do let me know if you have any questions. I would be happy to answer them. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you, Manjula, and thank you for being so involved, even though I know you're feeling ill. So I very much appreciated your input. And it sounds like you are doing brilliantly and you know exactly what you need to focus on. So best of luck with that. And I hope you start to feel better soon. And Olga, I hope you start to feel better soon as well. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today.